Hello internet dwellers, I'm Oki, and if you clicked on this video, it means you are probably a fan of the Fatal Frame video games and are curious about the live action adaptation. Or maybe you just clicked on it because you were bored, which is good too. Okay, I'm gonna start off by saying that this film was not scary at all. I don't even think they tried to be scary. And that might turn off some fans. But does that mean the film sucked? No. And actually, I ended up liking it very much. So most of you probably know, but the film takes place in an all-girls Catholic school. The film opens up with one of the main characters, Aya, having a dream of herself drowning. After having that dream, she becomes very distant from her classmates and ends up locking herself in her dorm room. Another character in the film, named Kasumi, ends up finding a photograph of Aya. Now, Kasumi happens to be a really big fan of Aya's, specifically because she thinks she has the best voice in the girl choir. Later that day, Kasumi ends up seeing Aya in the school. She follows her down a hallway, and Aya leans in and says, which means, break my curse, or lift my curse. If you're looking for a good time, take a shot of tequila every time she says that. At some point very soon, Kasumi ends up kissing Aya's photograph right at midnight, and later on, while the girls are outside, Kasumi disappears right in front of another character named Michi. Now after this event, Michi ends up going into Kasumi's room, looking for clues, I'm assuming, and she finds the photograph of Aya. She shows it to two other friends of hers, and they end up wanting to keep the photo because it belonged to Kasumi. So they put the photo in an altar, in an attic, and they too start seeing Aya around the school. Of course, they're not really seeing her though, it's more like hallucinations. And they also end up kissing the photograph and disappearing. Turns out though that another student took a picture of the photograph with her cell phone and forwarded it to the other girls. So of course more girls disappear. Now at this point, Michi has had it. All her friends are disappearing and she becomes very distressed. She tries to confront Aya, but Aya ends up not answering the door. After the first student disappears, some of the girls end up thinking that Aya is putting a curse on all of them. And as more girls start disappearing, that rumor spreads. Michi decides that she wants to join her friends and she doesn't want to be alone. She goes up to the attic to kiss the photograph, because that tiny little ritual has already spread across the school. And right before she kisses it, Aya stops her and basically tells her that none of what's happening is her fault. That she's dealing with those visions as well, and that she needs help finding out what's going on. So this is when Michi and Aya become Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and try to figure out the mystery behind the missing girls. Now, I'm not going to say anything else about the plot, or at least not in detail, because I would just rather not spoil it. I was personally really nervous to see the film because it had a really low rating on Yahoo Japan. Ratings really shouldn't stop you from seeing a specific film, but a lot of fans were disappointed that the camera obscura hardly even played a role in the film. And while it's true that the characters never use the camera to exorcise ghosts, it does play a vital part in the story, but it really doesn't have much screen time. As for ghosts, the only one that really makes an appearance throughout the film is Aya's doppelganger. And while the film does try to play up the horror elements in the first half, it's never scary. And that's one of the great things about the games, is that they're actually really terrifying. But you can't blame the film because it's based on a novel that's based on the games, rather than being based on a specific game. I think the story that the film adapted was really good, but there's hardly any room for a lot of supernatural things to happen. If you're super curious about the camera obscura, I'll go ahead and give another detail, but I'm not going to give it all away. Basically, there's a kid in the town that's going around using the camera obscura to try to take pictures of ghosts. He ends up being the one that takes the photograph of Aya. And it turns out that his mom owns a shrine where there's more than one camera, and they use it for something. But I'm not going to tell you what that is. There is a ritual in the film that sort of started it all, and it was a really interesting one at that. But it's not as horrific as getting your limbs pulled or sacrificing your twin sister, or what was the ritual in the third game? The tattoos. It's not quite that extreme. But even then, having a ritual be part of the plot was really cool to see. There are two twists at the end of the film, and I encourage you guys not to look it up, because I did before seeing the film, and when I watched the film, I thought that knowing the twist already definitely took away from the experience. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the film. The cinematography was gorgeous. I thought the actresses were great. The hallucination sequences in the beginning were really well done. And the ending was extremely satisfying to me. If you're completely annoyed at the fact that they don't use the camera obscura to fight ghosts, definitely don't watch it. But if you're a fan of the Yogo Gedam series, which includes Whispering Corridors, Memento Mori, Wishing Stairs, Voice, and I can't remember the fifth one. I never finished watching that one. You will really enjoy this film. Especially if you favor Memento Mori and Voice. I think this film was really similar to those. It was also really similar to the director's previous film, Gomenasai. In America, it's dubbed Ring of Curse. As a film, I thought it was great. You have to remember that it's technically not a video game adaptation. It's an adaptation of a novel that's based on the video games. Same difference almost. Well anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope I didn't reveal too much, and I definitely hope that this film gets released in the US and Canada and the UK. I think everyone should get the chance to see it. They also better release the 5th game and the 4th game. Actually, before I end the video, when they had first announced the new video game, the novel, and the film, they also announced a Hollywood film. While I'm personally not really excited about a Hollywood adaptation, it does mean that the game might make its way overseas. So fingers crossed. Thanks again for watching, and stay scared.